Hi, and welcome to the Carnivore Stories podcast with me, Alyssa Grubner. The carnivore way of eating has completely transformed my life, and it's stories just like the ones you'll hear on this podcast that kept me going strong every step of the way. I hope you're ready to hear an inspirational carnivore story. I know I am, so let's get into it. Right, this is episode 8 of the Carnivore Stories podcast. Today I have with me Jen Geissert. Jen is a physical therapist living in Kansas with her Doberman Lucy. She's been carnivore for 5 months now, and you can find her on Instagram at delighted to meet, MEATU. Okay, so delighted to meet you. Welcome to the show, Jen. I am delighted to meet you.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Yeah, thanks for meeting with me. So let's go ahead and jump into you telling us about your lifestyle and your life, maybe some of your anything that was affecting you health-wise before coming to carnivore.
Okay. Well, my lifestyle now, unrelated to diet and stuff. I'm a physical therapist in a hospital. So things have been a little crazy and stressful for 2.5 years, like everyone, I'm sure, but maybe a little more than the typical.
Yes.
And that's also kind of when things started going crazy with my health and what led me to carnivore. Just to kind of give a little background, I grew up pretty poor on welfare and all the things, and to a teen mom and all that, and just eating junk, and I had no idea, because it seemed like everyone ate like that, and maybe kind of everyone did in the 80s, I don't know, but now I recognize it. I see my mom with my nieces, and it's like, well, you've had 2 pops, so now you can have juice or Kool-Aid. It's like that was definitely what I was eating and drinking when I was a kid. And so then when I was 7, I was diagnosed with psoriasis, and that kind of came and went all my life, but wasn't a huge deal as a kid or even in my teens and early 20s. I mean, a big enough deal I'd try to cover it, but not a big enough deal that people would necessarily notice unless they were really looking for it. But around age 15, I started dieting and restricting and then binging. And so I've spent my whole life basically on a binge diet cycle.
Yeah.
So fast forward to about 2 years ago, I finally went on a biologic, like a immunosuppressant injection for my psoriasis, because it had gotten a lot worse in my mid 30s. I'm 38 now. And
you look fabulous. Look at you, Jen.
I'll tell you, that's partly from carnivore, but I really appreciate that. But yeah, when I was about 35-ish, probably, I went on this medication for my psoriasis. And right away, I started having just chronic sore throats. Like within a month, I was going to the doctor with a terrible sore throat, the worst sore throat I'd ever had. And they did all the tests and said it was nothing came back. It must be viral. Just deal with it. It'll get better. So about 6 months went by, and I just had a sore throat all the time. And it was definitely noticeably worse when I would eat sugar or drink alcohol, but otherwise I didn't necessarily notice any real patterns. And then in May of 2020, so right at the height of COVID, and there was a lot of stress in my life, and I had been exposed. And this was back when you thought you were exposed, you might die. And, if you remember back to the beginning of COVID. But then I ended up with an even worse throat issue. And so I went and got tested. And at this point, I actually had strep throat. So I was being treated with antibiotics for that, but they weren't helping. My throat was just still terrible. So they kept changing the antibiotics. And then I come down with this tiny little bit of a rash on my lower legs. And within 5 days, it was covering my entire body. I'll spare you some of the details, but there were multiple hospital visits. And at one point they thought I had Rocky Mountain spotted fever, which is a tick-borne illness. Anyway, 5 days later, I ended up in the emergency department because I literally thought I was going to die. If I thought at this point it was from the antibiotics, and that if I took one more dose, I was going to die. So anyway, no one's really concerned about my rash. No one's asking me anything about my diet or lifestyle. And again, it's during the beginning of COVID. So everyone's crazy anyway at that point at the hospital. And so anyway, they treated me for my throat issue with IV antibiotics, and the rash did get better after like a month or two. Turns out it was leukocytoclastic vasculitis, which is not that helpful because it can be caused by a severe infection, which I had, or an autoimmune issue, which I had, or a reaction to antibiotics, which I had. So even though I went to a million doctors, nobody could really give me any real answers. And I kind of stabilized after a while, though it would still kind of come back with my diet a little, specifically sugar and alcohol. Mm-hmm. Well, then in November of 2020, so about 6 months later, my psoriasis just completely flared, way, way, way worse than it had ever been in my life. And I was still on a medication for it. And so that's when I was like, I've had enough. This is definitely a problem. I cannot live like this. I feel like there's got to be something I can do more naturally. And so and also it was like anything I would eat, my skin would just flare up and just be so itchy and so uncomfortable. So I went to my doctor and I said, I have not eaten in 3 days because if I eat anything, it's just so much worse. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time anybody really listened to me. Like, maybe this is somewhat related to your diet. And she couldn't really help me. She left the office and did a little research and came back and said, maybe try the Mediterranean diet, which I appreciated. She was at least trying to look up some research. Mm-hmm. And stuff. But then I went and saw a naturopath, and he had a, nutritionist in his office. She told me about carnivore. So that is how.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And what she told me, and I was like, what is this made up? Like this, I've never heard of this. And I left her office and I did a little research on YouTube, and I found people like Kelly Hogan and Michaela Peterson, and realized like this actually kind of seemed like a reasonably good fit. And so I started it right away. And actually we can go into this if you like, but it was a bit of a false start because I didn't stick with it. And so when I say I'm a carnivore now for 5 months, that's not including that time. That was about 1.5 years ago. And then I found my way here again. So want me to go into that now?
Yeah. So what happened?
Yeah. So I started the carnivore diet right away when I had first learned about it, and it was helping my skin a lot, but I definitely was doing it from the place of desperation. Like, I'll do anything. And also she really introduced it as an elimination diet. Like, do this as an elimination diet. Nobody's allergic to meat and stuff. So see how you tolerate that. And then you'll slowly add things back in. And I was I was dating someone who, when we started dating, I was not a carnivore. And then suddenly his girlfriend's a carnivore. And that was tough for him, I think. It's harder for him than me. And so I was always kind of, again, desperate, but also trying to eventually get back to eating a little bit more normally. Well, normally in quotes. And so my skin got tons better, but it was like some days would still be worse and some days would be better. And I started trying to eat other foods sometimes. And so then I would flare up, and then I would start binging a little bit. And so after a while, it became sort of mentally exhausting. And I just felt like, I don't think the carnivore diet by itself is enough. And I'm going to stop for a while. Like, it's causing some issues with my mental health. And anyway, so this whole time I was on a drug for my psoriasis. I ended up switching drugs. So I'm still on a drug for it now. It's a different one. But I went about 6-7 months not on a carnivore diet, binging like normal, keto-ish. I have been keto-ish for a few years. But what I mean by keto-ish is really, really keto, except for all the binges, sugar and keto crap too, but also keto sugary things and alcohol and stuff. But 6 or 7 months went by. My skin was at least stabilized. It was still flaring, psoriasis flares and vasculitis flares, but nothing crazy. I could live with it. But I gained quite a bit of weight, and I just wasn't feeling that great. And so around January of this year, I was just like, man, when I was really carnivore, I felt so good. I don't think I can do a carnivore diet, but I can be a carnivore. That's a different thing altogether. Like being a carnivore versus doing the diet and kind of with the idea of changing it and cheating a little here and there. Like I just can't do that, but I can be a carnivore. And I just knew that's what I needed to do. So February 9th is when I started, and I have not cheated once. I have not looked back. I have had just so many benefits, all the ones I had before, but even more. And just never felt, even though my food is technically restricted, the number of foods I eat is limited. It's like I'm unlimited in the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So it's just been great. And I don't see any going back. My skin has been completely clear as far as that goes. Now, again, I'm still on a drug for it, but I'm not having any of the other throat issues or any of the other kind of flare-ups in between injections. And I haven't binged. I mean, that's a miracle itself. I've been binging for 20 years.
Yes.
So here I am now. Almost.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So did you have any problems adapting to carnivore during the fall start or this most recent time in February?
The first time I started, I had just really watery diarrhea for weeks.
Yeah.
And nothing too bad. And then this time around, I did have diarrhea again, but it was better. Yeah, nothing else really. One day, this time I had severe chest pain. Like I thought I had having a heart attack. And I had been reading some different things on social media about people having issues with like fat absorption and having like a GERD type of situation, which I'd never had any kind of heartburn or anything. But because I had heard that before, I had purchased some HCl, like hydrochloride.
Yeah.
What do you call that?
Hydrochloric acid, right?
Digestive enzymes. Yes.
Okay. Digestive enzymes. Okay.
Yeah. So I had that and I took it and I felt better immediately and realized, oh my gosh, that's what heartburn feels like. That really hurts.
Yeah.
But that only happens once. And now I don't even take enzymes or anything. But I can see how that could be an issue for people at first if they don't have the right acid profile or something in their stomach.
Yes. Yeah. And that could be scary. Like, you're all of a sudden eating all this fat and you're like, oh, I've done it now.
Yes.
This is the heart attack.
No one's going to feel sorry for me when they know what I eat.
Right. And you're like, oh, well, she asked for it. She was asking.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you mentioned that you were dating someone that first time, and it was harder for him that you were carnivore than it was for you. Have you had, what's been the reaction from the rest of your family and the rest of your friends that you're eating this way now?
My family, they know about it, but it's kind of like, oh, Jen's up to something new. And also any way that I eat, no matter what it is healthier than what they are eating. And they know that.
Yeah.
So they always think, oh, Jen's on this diet. She's very healthy. And so they've kind of kept that same view on a carnivore diet. Now, my friends definitely think it's weird. And they love me, so they're worried about me. And so they question me on things like my cholesterol and all that. But they also have seen me through all those low lows. And so they can see things are so much better. And I think they're kind of like, this is weird and it doesn't make any sense, but it seems to be working for her. So go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to argue with that when they see you doing so much better than you ever had in the past, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I'm dating now, but my boyfriend now, he's only known me as a carnivore. So he's fine with it. And he's not a carnivore, but he eats a lot of meat and he supports whatever I do and thinks it's cool, but also wants to eat donuts from time to time.
Yeah, I'm sure. But, at least, that's how you are as he's meeting you. And it isn't like, oh, this is so different. We used to eat donuts on the couch all the time, and now you don't want to do any of that stuff anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you like to travel.
I do.
Have you done any traveling since you've been carnivore?
I have. I've actually been on a trip a month all year. Um,
Oh,
yeah. So that's the perk of, being in your 30s with only a dog. I have a lot
yes.
of freedom. And so in the last couple months, I've been to Cancun and I'm going to Tulsa this weekend. I've been to Waco, Texas. I can't even remember, but I've been all over. And so I've been carnivore for all those trips, just packing my own food or,
Okay.
at the all-inclusive resort, choosing things that were as carnivore as possible, or sometimes fasting through meals if there was no option that I
Mhm.
could eat. And it's not easy, but that's kind of what I mean about being a carnivore versus following a carnivore diet. It's like, sorry, I'm
Right.
carnivore, like that, I'm not going to eat that. So
Hmm.
it just makes it simple to not have other options, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Those things, they're not even on the table. It's like not something that's food for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So I saw on your Instagram that you completed the 75 hard as a carnivore.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. How did that go?
It was so good. I mean, it was life-changing in the same ways that the carnivore diet has been life-changing. And frankly, had I not already been carnivore for about a month or 6 weeks when I started, I don't think I could have done it, because you have to follow a diet for the whole 75 days.
Mhm.
You can't have any alcohol, you can't have any cheats. And I had never gone a month without binging, much less 75 days. So it was a perfect combination for me to be carnivore and then doing 75 hard, which it looks like a fitness challenge, but it's really a mental toughness challenge.
Mhm.
That includes some fitness tasks and some other things like that. But it's been fantastic. I'm actually still kind of doing it. There's a program called Live Hard, which 75 hard is the beginning. Are you familiar?
Well, I was going to ask you about that next because I saw that on your Instagram too, and I was like, what's live hard?
Yeah. So Live Hard is when you do 75 hard, and then for the remainder of the year, 3 times you do phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. They're each 30 days, and you do all the 75 hard tasks during each phase, but each phase also has additional things that you do. And you finish it on your anniversary date of when you started. So it ends up being a whole year, but with quite a bit of time off, right? Like the 75 days
Okay.
time off, then 30 days time off, 30 days. So it's a little bit of a cycle, but it's fantastic. And I'm doing it with one of my best friends. So it's been great for our friendship and just awesome having that camaraderie. And I swear, I say on my Instagram all the time, carnivore and 75 hard is like magical.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like it would be a good fit. Definitely.
Yeah.
I looked into it years ago, and so I'm familiar with what's required, but
Mhm.
I wouldn't be able to tell someone exactly. Can you share what goes into 75 hard?
Sure. So for 75 days, you do all of these following things that I'll try to list off the top of my head. You work out twice a day for 45 minutes each time, and one of them has to be outside regardless of the weather. You follow any diet that you choose for yourself. That's a reasonable diet. It can't be like only Snicker bars, but so you can't cheat on the diet and you can't have any alcohol. You'd have to drink a gallon of water a day. You have to take a daily progress photo and read 10 pages per day of like entrepreneurship or self-development type of a book. So that's all of 75 hard. But now in phase 1, I have to do all of that and 10 minutes a day of visualization, a 5-minute cold shower. That's
Oh
pretty
my
brutal.
goodness.
Yeah. And then 3 additional tasks that you choose for yourself just to move yourself forward. So my 3 things I chose: 15 minutes of silence, like no phone, no music, no reading for 15 minutes. Believe it or not, that's hard for me. And I'm listening to like a daily Bible reading podcast. And then my third thing is a gratitude journal. So it's a
Oh,
lot. I
awesome.
mean, you have to really prioritize your day to get all that done, but it's incredible.
Yeah. Okay, so the cold showers, 5 minutes of cold. How has that been going for you?
I almost wasn't going to do phase one at all because I didn't want to do the cold showers. But it hasn't been as bad as I thought. And I think once you finish 75 hard, you feel like you can do anything. You feel like literally you can do anything you want to. So I think that sort of prepped me for this. Like, no, I can do a
Yeah.
5 minute shower. It's going to suck, but I can do it. And it does suck, but I can do it.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely, like you said, it's more of a mental thing, and than it is like fitness, like mental fitness. That's definitely strengthening your I don't wanna, but I'm gonna muscle, right?
Exactly right. Yes. Oh, and one other thing with phase one. So for my diet, I'm doing carnivore, but no coffee. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. I think you don't drink coffee anyway, right? Oh no, you froze. I lost you for a sec.
Oh, am I here? Am I here
Yes,
now?
there you are. There you are.
Okay. Okay. So no coffee.
Yes, I was a pretty big coffee drinker before, but I have not had coffee for 5 days, and it's actually been fine. But I
Yeah.
did come across the recipe for Bulletproof Water from another carnivore, and so I've been having that, and that's kind of
Okay.
filled the space, a nice
Yeah.
warm drink as I'm getting ready for the day, and that's been nice.
Yeah, I quit coffee a little over a year ago, maybe like a year and a half ago now. But I would have that hot cup of water in the morning because I felt like it served the same purpose without the caffeine to like zap me to life.
Right. Yeah. I do feel like maybe I'm a little more tired, but I suppose that will go away. Do you remember if that was your experience?
Yeah, definitely. Because I felt like the coffee was giving me that artificial energy. So I was relying on that before, but then my body got into, okay, we can go ahead and have our own energy, where we don't have the artificial energy, but I definitely feel like I have more energy now than I did when I was drinking coffee throughout the day. Definitely.
Great. Well, I thought this would be a good time where I'm forced to do it for 30 days because I've kind of
Yeah.
tried it before and I've made it 3 or 4 days and then I just give
Okay.
up because I just want coffee. So hopefully by the end of the 30 days, I'll really either notice a big difference or not, and then maybe I'll drink coffee. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe. But it's good to have a break from it, and it'll be like your first time having coffee again if you do go back to it.
That's okay. I'd be wired.
Um, so the 45-minute exercises, one indoors, one outdoors. What kind of exercise have you been doing?
Most days I lift and then go for a walk.
Okay.
Today I'm off work, so my schedule's a little bit easier to fit things in. So I lifted this morning and then I rode the bike outside.
Okay, cool. And you like lifting heavy weights?
I do, yes.
Yes. So did you lift at all before coming to Carnivore?
I did. I actually in high school was a competitive power lifter. So
Wow.
yeah, for a long, long time. And sort of my motivation would come and go with it. But I've been really consistent for, probably 2 years, maybe.
Okay. Okay. Do you notice any differences lifting as a carnivore compared to lifting as not a carnivore?
That's a great question. Okay, as a person doing a keto diet, I remember struggling with energy quite a bit, especially with heavy lifting where my heart rate was up pretty high, like on a good heavy leg day. But with carnivore, it's not like it's better than when I was eating carbs, but it's definitely not worse. And I was really worried about that. I thought my lifts would go way down and I wouldn't have as much energy, but it hasn't been a problem at all. In fact, I'm probably having less kind of delayed onset muscle soreness after
Yeah.
working. So that's been a nice perk.
Yeah, that's probably the number one thing I noticed lifting as a carnivore, because I do some hypertrophy lifting like 5 days a week, and I don't get sore most of the times I don't get sore unless it's something like very new to my body. Like we went wakeboarding this past Sunday and I thought I was kind of fit and strong, for a lady, but my forearms, when we got done from holding on to that
Sure.
thing, they were like done. They were like, oh my goodness, you have not been training for this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess something completely new, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And then how about like body recomposition? Have you noticed that it's easier to build muscle than
No,
before, or?
yeah, I guess I've never thought of it that way, that it's easier to build muscle, but my body composition changed so much in the first few months when I was carnivore and doing 75
Mhm.
hard. And it was extra noticeable because my weight right now is a little bit higher than some of my lows before, like on keto,
Right.
or when I'm on the diet cycle of the binge diet cycle. I'm probably 10 or 15 pounds heavier, but my
Mhm.
body looks as good, if not better, than when I was
Yes.
lighter. So that's been kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna bring up that post you had with the little black dress,
Yeah.
and I was having a hard time. I had to keep looking at the pictures because you like the one that is newer, and you're saying you're 15 pounds heavier. I feel like your waist looks smaller, and so I was like looking back and forth, and it took me like I had to take so many double takes. Um, and you were saying like that before, you would have to be on this diet to make sure you're going to fit into your dress, and you'd fit into it for one night and then that was it. And I can totally relate because like in particular, I remember me and my husband had made these reservations for this really nice place, and I bought this really nice dress. And I remember it being a really stressful situation because I was like, okay, well, I have to make sure that I don't eat a whole bunch leading up to this because I need to fit into this dress on that night. And it was this
Yeah.
big thing. And to fit into that dress, I needed to be about 15 pounds lighter than I am now, you know? But on carnivore, I'm heavier, but my body composition has changed in a way that I can fit that dress any day of the week. I can fit that dress on my period, and
Yeah.
do chores around the house in it, and like I feel like my body is just like very stable. Like from day to day, I'm the same weight, I'm about the same size unless I'm getting a muscle pump in the gym. But it's like it's not this big swing every which way. I mean, my weight used to fluctuate like 10 pounds overnight sometimes.
Oh
And
my
that
gosh.
just doesn't happen anymore.
I completely relate to all that. In fact, I wear scrubs for work, and I would have to
Uh-huh.
have kind of two sets of scrubs. My skinnier scrubs and I've been binging and I cannot fit into my scrubs. And
Right.
now I don't need those. But luckily I still have them because the other day I didn't do laundry and I was out of scrubs. So I've been binging scrubs and they looked a little bad,
Okay.
but
Okay.
they were a good backup.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I really love about carnivore is because, you know, I know that I'm heavier than, I would have liked to be years ago. Like seeing the number on the scale that I see now would have really freaked me out. Like, oh, I'm really going off the rails, But something I really learned from carnivore is that, that health is never going to be a number on the scale or, a dress size, that's like the furthest thing from what health is, and that I can be at my healthiest and not be at my lowest weight, but really be loving my body more than I ever was at my lowest weight. So it's definitely cool. A cool thing.
Yeah. I remember hearing so many times, love your body no matter what it looks like. But it's like, I don't know. I found that always so hard to do. But as a carnivore, it's just easy. And partly because you
Yeah.
do look better and you feel better and your mental health is
Hmm.
better. But it's like that's the first time I've ever really understood this whole loving your body regardless of how much it weighs.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I can totally relate. All right. So what all do you include in your carnivore diet?
I mostly eat beef, but I eat really anything from the animal kingdom. Sometimes a treat might be like pork rinds or something like
Hmm.
that. I eat a lot of steak. Usually that's what I have for dinner. And I usually have ground beef for lunch. Um, but I also eat some chicken, dark meat specifically. I try to eat a little fish. I'm not very good at it because I don't like it that much. Um,
Mhm.
I eat lamb and goat sometimes, um, roasts and stuff, a little bit of dairy, like, oh, eggs. I eat a lot of eggs, a little bit of cheese. And I mean, I haven't had heavy cream in a long time because I'm not drinking coffee. And I had cut it out of my coffee a couple months ago, but I was including that. And that's about the main thing. I mean, I like things to be simple. So I try
Mhm.
things that I just throw in the air fryer and just eat it. But if I'm feeling really fancy, I might have like a carnivore pizza, which takes a couple hours. And it's like a chicken
Yeah.
crust and then Alfredo for the sauce and then the shrimp and the bacon for the toppings. And I mean, I'll have that maybe once every couple months.
Okay, that sounds really good. I'm not doing dairy right now, but because I know what it's been doing to me. But I told myself, okay, when the holidays come around, I know what it's going to do to me, but I'm going to go ahead and have that dairy. And I'm making that pizza with the shrimp and
Okay.
the bacon and Alfredo. That sounds really good.
Pretty good. It does. I mean, I'm like you, dairy's not the best. And I definitely always get a couple pimples if I overdo it with the dairy.
Uh-huh.
But sometimes I just choose to do it anyway. And
Yeah.
it's good, but it takes so long that that's what limits me mostly. It's like I don't feel like doing this, but I'm gonna do a
Yeah.
video of it soon and do a reel of it or whatever so people can try it if they want.
Oh, cool. Cool. I'll be looking forward to that. Do you include any organs in your diet?
I've tried with the liver. I don't like
Hmm.
it. And so for a while I had it chopped up in the freezer and I would just almost take it like a pill. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like if my body needs it, I'm going to be craving it. So I'm open
exactly.
to having it at some point, but right now it just disgusts me.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely feel like if something is like revolting, your body is not dumb. It's not like it would just reject something that's really good for it. So, you probably don't need it. Like, I'm someone who is a sometimes salter. Like sometimes salt tastes really good, and so I'll salt my food a lot. And sometimes salt is like the worst thing ever, and I'm like, get that out of here. I just want plain meat. And my body talks to me very loud and clear. If it's a salting day or if it's not a salting day or if it's a salting meal or not a salting meal.
Same. I have the same experience with salt and fat. Some days I'm like,
Okay.
oh, this is disgusting. I cannot eat this fat. But most days I'm like, oh, I need more
Hmm.
fat. It's so delicious. And so lately I feel like I'm heavier salt and heavier fat, but I just get very clear indications from my body of what I should be eating. That's
Yeah.
incredible too.
Yeah, that's another great thing about carnivore because I've struggled with binge eating too. And I'm not about to binge on a bunch of eggs and ground beef. It's like you just can't be intuitive with food that's designed to make you not be intuitive, to hijack your senses and make you want to eat it till you're about to fall over.
Yeah. But it does make you eventually your stomach is so full where it's like you could eat 5 pizzas and 2 pints of
Mhm.
ice cream and all the candy. And I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but I mean, I could just put away the
Yeah.
carby food.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could put some food away and like scare somebody. Like, really? You just put that into yourself?
Yeah. It's like then you can't even bend over to get your shoes off.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay, so what does your typical day of eating look like? What did you eat yesterday?
Yesterday I had bulletproof water and then I had beef patties with butter, but I wasn't really craving the butter, so just beef patties mostly. And then I came home and ate a little bit of a rotisserie chicken because I was hungry, and then I had a ribeye for dinner.
Okay. So what's your favorite cut of steak
Oh, ribeye for sure.
or by and how do you usually cook it?
I cook it in the air fryer. People are
Okay.
fancy chef people don't like that answer, but that's what I have. And I live in an
Okay.
apartment, so I don't have a grill or anything. But
Okay.
so good in the air fryer. And I learned this from Michaela Peterson. If you cook it from frozen, then the outside is
Yeah.
nice and crispy and brown and delicious, but the inside stays rare or medium rare. So it's perfect. And it's just quick. And I never have to have meat thawed. I just take it from the freezer, throw it in the air fryer, and
Mhm.
have dinner in 15 minutes.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that's quick and easy. That's got to be definitely one of the bigger selling points of this diet, that it's really straightforward and most food can be cooked, very quick. And
Um, yeah.
yeah.
And kind of an extension to that, when in the past on different diets, I would be tracking my food all the time. And as somebody who was already binging and just sort of obsessive about what I was eating, and then it's like, if I ate something that I didn't track, then I might as well just binge because I already
Mhm.
ate stuff that I didn't track. Well, it was just this mental nonstop. And so not having to track my food is such
Mhm.
freedom.
Yes. Yes, it is such a relief. Yes, you're right about that. Um, okay, so you mentioned the psoriasis and the vasculitis. How about some other carnivore benefits that you've gained from eating this way?
Yeah, well, I mentioned the binge eating. That's
Yes.
ridiculous. That's never happened. I've never gone 5.5 months without binging. Never gone 5.5 weeks, probably. But also I've had acne most of my life, and
Mm-hmm.
that's gone. If I have a little dairy, I might have a couple little pimples, but otherwise it's gone. Just generally, my skin is looking like kind of glowing and smooth and good on
Mm-hmm.
my face and my whole body. It's awesome. And I've never really had a lot of mental health problems, I don't think. I mean, certainly never had anything diagnosed or anything. But now that I'm a carnivore, I feel like, what is this euphoria that I'm experiencing?
Mm-hmm.
Not every second all the time, but a lot. So I feel like maybe my mood was a little bit more depressed before, and I just had no idea until I experienced the other side. Also, I'm sleeping way better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what else? I mean, just generally like libido stuff is better.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, absolutely.
motivation. It's like I can hardly think of anything in my life that isn't better as a
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what? To people who haven't experienced it, I feel like they're kind of like, yeah, okay, all right. But when you've experienced it, like you're telling me this, I'm like, yep, yeah, I know it. And it only gets better. It's really something else. Uh
Oh, another kind of weird thing. I go to the dentist and they're like, there's nothing to clean off your teeth. So
yes.
it takes 2 minutes with the dental hygienist. And I've always
Yeah.
had tons of cavities and all kinds of dental issues because I was constantly eating sugar.
Hmm. Yes. Yeah, definitely. That's something I've definitely noticed too. My dental health has improved a lot. I mean, it's like really, yeah. I mean, now it's a no-brainer. Like obviously, you're eating all these carbs, you're eating all this sugar, and it's, causing all this to get dirty in your mouth. And if you don't eat that, then your mouth really doesn't get dirty. And but but yeah, that's definitely a cool thing.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it only gets better for sure. All right. So I know that you can't be on a carnivore diet for life. Do you feel like you could be a carnivore for life?
I do. Sometimes I envision myself like in my little independent living facility and they're bringing me my food and they're like, here's Jen's steak,
Yeah.
I'll be able to eat it because I won't have dentures. But I really do. I don't see any upside to me changing anything really. I am open to making small changes over time if it seems appropriate, but I don't see any benefit to going back to a standard American diet for sure. Um, so I just don't think I will. It's like I've waited 38 years to find this groove and I finally found it.
Hmm. Hmm. That's awesome. That is so great. So glad to hear it. So the last question I have for you is, what advice would you give to someone who is thinking about trying carnivore or just starting out, or someone that's in the middle of their false start and they're like, I don't know if I can do this?
Yeah. Okay. So my advice would be, first of all, if you're thinking about it, just do it. Don't worry about what other people are saying. Do it for yourself and just see, do it for at least 30 days and just see. But what I would advise people is to eat, allow yourself to eat anything from the animal kingdom, whether that's milk or I don't know, whatever weird thing like pork rind nachos and like chicken that's, well, I guess not fried chicken, but things, anything goes. It doesn't have to be just beef, salt, water. Do it all, because after like a month, you're going to be feeling so much better. And then your body's going to tell you like, I don't really like the cheese, or I don't know about that particular cut of meat. But you have to just give yourself some time to let your body start telling you those things. And if you're too rigid at first, it's too hard. And that was definitely a big part of my problem. I was kind of doing more of a lion diet during my false start. It was too restrictive. And I think I could see myself going down that path in the future, at least from time to time. But as a beginner, it was too much.
Yeah. Great advice. Well, Jen, this has been absolutely amazing. It was such a delight to meet you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. I'm delighted to meet you as well.
Yeah, and we'll have to do this again sometime. Maybe like Jen's Carniversary special.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah. All right. Well, you take care. Tell Lucy I said hi. Give her a pet for me.
Okay, I'll do that. She's staring at us right now.
Okay. She is precious. I saw the picture. She is a precious dog. And yeah, I guess we'll be in touch. I'll see you around Instagram, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay meaty.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's it for today. Until next time, stay meaty, stay strong, stay inspired. Do you have a carnivore story to tell? Connect with me on Instagram at meat, MEAT, Mrs. MRS Grubs, GRUBS. Or you can email me at carnivorestories@gmail.com. I would love to interview you, and the world needs to know that meat heals.